Joel, Luke, great to actually meet you in person.
Absolutely.
Finally,
Well, Sarah.
but you are back in the UK at last. We've been waiting.
Yep.
But looking at Unsung Hero, that's why you're here today. Can you give me your under 30-second elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch. Joel,
Who's
you'll
the
nail
salesman
this.
here?
All right. A 90s true story about a mum, her 6 kids, 16 suitcases, 6 months pregnant, and her husband who'd lost everything, moving from Brisbane, Australia to the United States to start a new life, losing everything and facing all the tragedies and triumphs along the way as a family. How's that?
Yeah.
That was great. It was very good.
Thank you.
Oh,
Very good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Will you go see the movie? Are you going to see the movie?
I've seen it,
Okay,
but
good.
I will see it again. And Luke, as producer, going to your unique selling point, what would you say to someone then is your
Look,
unique selling
I
point?
think that families are the basis of culture, and we need movies that are celebrating families, but not families that are perfect families, that families that actually learn to overcome difficult things. And one of the things I love about this movie is telling our parents' story is they learned and taught us how to overcome difficult things. And there's a lot of, it's not a perfect family by any means, it's actually a kind of a dysfunctional family at points. But you fight to have it be at least a little functional on the front. I always say that family should be functionally dysfunctional. If you can do that, you're doing something that many others can't do. And so I think the story of the power of family, every one of us comes from a family. And I think that having these types of films in theaters hopefully will infuse that power of family in people's lives.
Nice. I love that. A lot of people are going to relate. Dysfunctional function, however you put it.
That's right.
So, stylistically, as director, Joel, how did you approach it? Again, if you were giving kind of like an elevator pitch, how would you explain as a director's perspective, how did you stylistically want to present this to the audience?
Well, it's a very up close and personal story by nature, you know. It starts real grand and big in Australia, Sydney Opera House, these concerts that Dad was putting on, but then the heart of the film really takes place in one home in Nashville, or south of Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee. And so we wanted to sort of really get up close and personal with the camera, a lot of it with the kids, with our mum, and I play our dad in the film, which I've dubbed a very expensive therapy session, is very sort of honest. We sort of took inspiration from The Pursuit of Happiness, Fablesman, Honey Boy, these types of films, King Richard, and sort of gave it our own spin, but also wanted to really, you know, express the sort of aesthetic of the 90s, which was really fun as well.
Nice. So the whole kind of costume and
Oh, yeah.
replaying. I mean, I've seen some of it, and it does draw you back
Yeah.
in time a little bit. So what would you say, coming over to the UK, your UK audience is quite different perhaps than
Yeah.
your US audience. What do you hope that people are going to, so let them know they can watch it as from the 14th of June, but what would you like your audience really to have their key takeaway? What outcomes?
I think it comes back to the power of family. You know, I think sometimes we live in such a, just even driving around here in London, we're increasingly busy people. And sometimes I think as people, we get so busy with the things that we need to achieve and the things that we need to accomplish that we forget the things that actually have legacy and eternal significance. And I think that becomes what family is. And so I hope people leave the film, and I hope that dads leave and say, man, I want to be a better dad. I hope that moms leave and they see that the work that they do, the invisible work at times that they do, that it matters, that it's important, that it's significant, and it's changing the trajectory of their legacy and their generation.
I love that. Love that. There's always something that goes wrong behind the scenes. Can you tell me what, I like to entertain my audience, give them a little bit behind the scenes thing. Is there any funny, embarrassing, or whatever story that you don't mind telling?
We had we filmed late 2022, and so it was still, all the COVID sort of protocols were still very much in place in the film industry. So we had a day where we got shut down by COVID. We also had our hero house that I mentioned earlier had mold in it, so we couldn't film inside that house. But it just so happened because we had one COVID shutdown day, we got to go scout for a new hero house, which ended up being such a blessing in disguise. This gentleman, his older gentleman, his sister had passed on, and she had kept meticulous sort of a time warp of a home from the 80s, from refrigerators to televisions and so on. And so we literally, the house that the heart of the film unfolds in is her home. So not only honoring her memory, but our literal production manager, Catherine Tucker, she walked in and she just wept when she saw the home. And so there was great stress, but great sort of redemption that came out of the stress.
Well, I know in the previous interview we talked about how God just weaves, and so that's amazing. I know now that we've got to come to the end of this interview. Could you just finally say how long you're in the UK, and will we be hearing any of your music? What's next?
We're here till Sunday, so we're here for another 5 days. And then when it comes to what's next, hopefully we can come back soon. But there's not a ton figured out on the schedule yet. But UK is very special.
We're celebrating
we'll come
the
back.
finale
That's
of
right.
Unsung Hero
That's
in
right.
the UK.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Thanks,
to
Sarah.
see you.
Yeah, you too.
There's no food, and we're almost out of money.
Okay, stay close. Let's go.
I want a record deal. So do I.
I have a little gift for you.
Oh,
There we go.
thank
Enjoy.
you.
Be blessed.
That's amazing.